Right, a bit about the period when the Norris's and other makers started to make bench planes, other than the mitre plane, the smoother, the panel plane and the jointer. There were quite a few metal plane makers at this period, and I think it's the best period in England when they produce this type of plane. I think they're the best in the world, and they always command high prices if they're in good condition, so a lot of other people think they are the best. Spears claimed to have started making metal planes 1840. Norris was about 20 years later, and there were other makers which I haven't got, all in the same quality. Matheson, Preston, Miller, a few other makers, but in my eyes the best three are Norris, Spears and Matheson, and they were right at the beginning of metal plane making. Both Norris and Spears went for about 80 years, I believe. One thing I wanted to tell you about a Norris plane is, for a start off, people comment on their adjuster being sloppy, this, that and the other. Now I've had hundreds, I mean hundreds, pass through my hands, and I've never had one with a sloppy or damaged lever adjuster. They have a left and a right hand thread at the bottom, and people say there's a lot of slack, this, that and the other. Well, I've never found any. I still think they're the best. I'll just show the adjuster. Oh, what? When you've been using one of these Norris planes with the adjuster and you want to sharpen it, it'll be set in the right position. You've been using it, you want to sharpen it. So you undo this, so it's clear of that. You lift the iron out and pull it back. So, because I've just lifted it up, pulled it back, the front of the lever cap screw touches that when you want to put it back. So what I do is just give it a tap, that's lifted it up, and it's ready to go back in the plane once you've sharpened it. And when the iron is out, don't mess with this. It's set up, because if you mess with that, you can have difficulty locating the iron once you've sharpened it. Say I've just sharpened it, I've showed you how I took it out, tap that, it goes back in and drops in. Dead easy. But if you mess with that, you could have problems. And then you loosely tighten that up and adjust it to however you want it. Okay, just mention the spears. You can see it's dovetailed because of the contrasting metals. Spears are very elegant with their designs, probably more so than Norris, but the craftsmanship between Matheson, Norris and Spears are all on a par, and they're absolutely fantastic. Just tell you about the Norris handbook a bit. This was reproduction. On page 56, put my glasses on. It tells you the sizes that the bench planes were made in, the jointer and the panel plane. And it states that these were made in sizes from, started at 13.5 inches, 14.5, 15.5, 16 and a half, 17 and a half, then it jumps to the jointer, 20 and a half, 22 and a half, 24 and a half, 26 and a half and 28 and a half being the biggest. But it also states planes can be made up to 36 inches long. And for 30 years, when I started knowing about Norrises and picking them up and everything else, for 30 years I said nobody's ever found a 36-inch Norris jointer, but one has been found now, and I've seen it. It's in mint condition, it's in a wooden box, and Norris, generally speaking, never made wooden boxes, but the wooden box has got a Norris stamp on it. It's wrapped in greaseproof paper. Unfortunately, the iron and the back iron are missing, but the plane itself is unused mint. And it's stunning, 36 inches long. I think it was 1991 when I was advertising for tools. Eventually somebody got in touch with me and said, got 15 Norrises. It's a long story. But we went down, Sarah and I, and viewed them eventually after 6 months negotiating, and there on his table in this beautiful house were 15 Norrises. They were all mint, most of them were rare models, and most of them were in the boxes, and the boxes are so rare. And they went from the little tiny chariot planes up to, he had one 28 and a half, and like I said, they're all in mint condition. So these 15 planes are now mainly in a collection somewhere, are the best Norrises ever found, because it was the best period when they made them. They're all in rosewood and ebony, bronze and steel, dovetailed and everything. And the 28 and a half, there's about 10 or 12, perhaps 15, 28 and a half inch Norrises come to life over the 30 years. I've seen most of them, quite a few have passed through my hands, but this 28 and a half inch that I found, being mint and the most beautiful rosewood, is obviously the best that's ever been found, and so are the rest.